Good morning and welcome to South Church. It is good to be with you in this virtual space on this Sunday morning. My name is Laurie Bilby, and I have the honor and privilege of being one of a team of 8 worship associates that work with our staff, particularly with our minister, Susan Sahusky Brown, and our Director of Lifespan Ministries, Kirsten Hunter, to bring worship to you on Sundays. I'm very excited about today's service, which is featuring the Endowment Committee, which is kind of new and different for us. And a member of the Endowment Committee, Irene Bush, is here to tell us a little bit about what to expect this morning. Irene?
Thank you, Laurie. As Laurie said, I'm Irene Bush, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Endowment Committee. Our mission is to ensure the long-term financial sustainability of our congregation through a healthy endowment. All future gifts earmarked for the endowment provide a stable financial base for South Church in perpetuity. This past fall, the Endowment Committee asked Reverend Susan and the worship associates if we could present an Endowment Sunday to shine a light on estate and planned giving. Each of us at the end of life wants our assets to support people, causes, and institutions we care about. The legacy gifts that make up our endowment show the deep long-term commitment to South Church by so many of our past and current members. Those who have or will make a legacy gift to South Church make up the Penhallow Society. Currently, we have about 60 Penhallow stewards in our congregation. Today's service is focused on the Penhallow Society, and during the service, you will hear voices and see pictures of Penhallow members with 3 mini talks about why each speaker thinks it is important to leave a gift to the endowment. Sue Thoresen, a longtime member of the church, who served 6 years as a trustee on the Endowment Committee, will tell us about the Penhallow Society, its namesake, and its value and importance to the endowment. Jim Verschueren will talk about how the endowment provides a solid foundation for our efforts today and in the future. Lastly, a 3-generation South Church family, Mariah Roberts, who is a member of the Endowment Committee, her mother, Skye Marr, and Mariah's daughter, Josie, will talk about their hopes for ensuring that South Church remains the wonderful community it is for our children and for future families, and that it continues to be a force for good in the larger community. There will be a special meditation by Cathy Okhuysen, and of course, beautiful music by our Director of Music Ministry, Joanne Connolly. I'm pleased to ask Joanne to tell you about what she and Susan Adams have planned for today.
Thank you, Irene. Yes, I think you've said it all about this wonderful service, and the music will reflect the past, present, and future of our endowment. And Irene has picked a lovely hymn, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door, that we haven't sung forever because it hasn't been part of our copyright that we could use. And Irene asked, I did some research, so we're going to add that as a special hymn for the endowment. And thank you, Irene. Thank you for being here. And Susan and I will do that, and I'll turn it back to Laurie.
All right, so a lot of people participating in today's service, which will be really fun. Our gratitude and thanks go out to everyone on the Endowment Committee for working so hard to bring this together, and also to our musicians and also to our behind the scenes people who put this video production together so that we can all enjoy it, namely Jen Leiden and Kirsten Hunter. So take a breath, let it out, and enjoy the service.
The South Church Spiritual Book Group, in partnership with the Social Justice Associates, is hosting a discussion of How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi on Wednesday, April 14th at 7 p.m. All are welcome. Please contact South Church Book Group at gmail.com for the Zoom link. Are you looking for ways to engage with others at our beloved South Church? Shared ministry and all of the associate programs, worship, learning, fellowship, pastoral, and social justice, are in need of new members for the upcoming year. We need you and your passion to continue the important work of these invaluable groups. Email sharedministry@southchurch-uu.org, and one of our members would love to give you a call. Join the Social Justice Associates in urging our senators and congresspeople to support the Raise the Wage Act and increase the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. We have postcards, stamps, and addresses, and just need folks to write a message and put them in the mail. If you're interested, please email socialjusticeassociates@southchurch-uu.org. This year's Pocket Garden Tour is June 25th and 26th, and you can begin your support now with a $25 donation. Supporters will be listed on a special Blooms page in the brochure. Along with your name, your listing can include your business name or the name of someone special you would like to honor or remember. Purchase your bloom in person on March 21st or 28th from 1 to 3 p.m. on the portico or on the South Church website starting this coming week.
We are all just walking each other home. 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 We are all just walking each other home.
For about 30 years now, with just a short break before I failed my first try at retirement, I have worked for a small law firm in Boston as an estate administrator. Basically, that means handling all the stuff that needs to be handled after somebody dies. This job has given me a really interesting window into what arrangements people make for their money once it is of no use whatsoever to them. Now, all families are different, of course, and all individuals are different, but I've seen enough over the years to have drawn a conclusion that more often than not, the handing down of generational wealth is really not good for an awful lot of children and grandchildren. But what fascinates me more than drawing my own opinions about estate planning is whether or not people actually really think about what they're going to do. Leave it to the spouse? Sure. But what if she marries again and poorly? Pass it on to the kids? Sure, maybe, but how much and why? And what might the impacts be on them, positive and negative? Give it to charities? The needs are so great. Would my contribution even matter? And am I doing it from a place of love, or am I doing it for keeping my name alive? And is it okay either way? When I think about these things, and I do from time to time, occupational hazard, I really hope, first of all, that I am remembered for more than whatever money I leave behind me. And I'd really like whatever money I leave behind to reflect the values to which I aspire. In 1995, when my late wife Fen and I had a big commitment ceremony long before gay marriage was legal, we were aware that drawing our family and friends together to declare our love and our intentions for a life together was a little out of the box for some of our guests. We had some of our friends get together as a quartet and sing a song that we liked by Steve Green, which is based on a verse from the book of Hebrews in the Christian Bible, and it seemed fitting in the context of today's service. Surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us run the race, not only for the prize, but as those who've gone before us, let us leave to those behind us a legacy of faithfulness passed on through godly lives. Oh, may all who come behind us find us faithful.
Catherine Greeley is lighting our chalice this morning, and these words are by Reverend Charles Howe. We light this chalice to affirm that new light is ever waiting to break through and enlighten our ways, that new truth is ever waiting to break through to illumine our minds, and that new love is ever waiting to break through to warm our hearts. May we be open to this light and to the rich possibilities that it brings us.
Hi, I'm Susan Treleaven, a longtime member of South Church. And I want to let you know that the mission statement is very important to me because I was lucky enough to be on the committee that helped create the mission statement. The whole church did it together. We had thousands of hours of interviews and phone calls and cards and letters from members of the church community about what they wanted the mission statement to say. And the amalgam of the diverse folks who were on that committee, after sticky notes galore, came up with our mission statement, which I think reflects our deepest beliefs. And it's something that we can say to ourselves, to one another, and to the wider world. So please join me in reciting South Church's mission statement. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. May it be so.
May nothing evil cross this door, and may your fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This heart through all the world grow chill will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
Good morning, everybody. If we look a little bit fancy today, it's because we have a story about a fancy woman for you.
Once upon a time, there was a fancy old lady. She was fancy and she was different. Maybe you'd say she was quirky. Not in a bad way. She was quite charming and interesting and just, well, she tended to do little unexpected things. For example, she wore fancy clothes, but she mixed patterns that most people wouldn't mix, and she combined colors that made a lot of people kind of scrunch their eyebrows and tip their head to the side, like they were confused by what they saw. The kids thought she looked great.
The woman also wore lots of jewelry. It looked like expensive jewelry. Earrings and bracelets, necklaces with lots of big gems and gold. The woman lived in a big house on Elm Street, but she was often seen out walking the sidewalks of town. One place she often walked to was a big abandoned lot where there used to be an old factory that had gone out of business. The building had fallen down years ago and the remains had been hauled away, but for a long time now, it had just been a big, empty, trashy lot that nobody wanted to be near.
One day, from a distance, a young couple saw that the old woman saw her walk into the abandoned lot and get down on her knees, and they watched her use a big silver spoon to dig a hole. And then she took off a fancy jeweled bracelet and she put it in the hole and filled it back up with soil. Then she took a bottle of what looked like very fancy perfume and she poured a little bit of perfume right on the spot where she'd buried that bracelet.
Well, that was strange, they thought. And they watched as she walked to another spot on the lot, and she bent down again and dug a hole with the silver spoon. And then she took off her earrings and she put them in the hole, and then she filled it in with soil. And again, she opened the perfume and poured it on top.
The couple continued on their walk and met the old woman as she was stepping off the abandoned lot. The couple spoke to her. "Good morning, ma'am," they said. "What was that you were doing in the dirt?"
"Oh, I was just planting the seed for a most beautiful swing for your grandchildren." And the old woman walked on.
Throughout that spring and summer, there were several times where someone would see that old woman in the scrubby old lot, down on her knees with her spoon, digging holes and burying fancy things in those holes. Whenever someone would ask her about her odd behavior, she'd say something like, "Oh, the birds and children of the future will make beautiful memories in this space."
One day, someone watched her bury an especially valuable looking necklace. As usual, she filled in the hole, poured some perfume on it, and left. That person thought it was a shame to throw away something so expensive, so they waited until just before dawn the next day, and then went back to the lot when there was nobody around. They went to the spot where the woman had buried the necklace, and the soil was still damp and smelled like perfume, and the person carefully dug until they could feel the necklace. They took it out and held it in their hands, but what they held was a brownish root, oddly shaped like the necklace. So the person was confused and felt around in the hole, but there was nothing else in there. So they put the root back, filled in the hole, and left with fragrant and muddy, empty hands.
This happened a couple times. Someone would decide that it was wasteful to bury expensive things and they could do something better with the money, and they could get from selling an item or some other way of using it. But whenever someone would dig up the spot where the old woman had buried treasure, they would only find a root shaped like the thing she'd buried. All the while, the woman made comments about how wonderful things would be for the grandchildren of her neighbors who didn't even have kids yet. This strange behavior continued over several springs and summers, and the neighbors all recognized the odd woman who they said talked nonsense and buried old roots everywhere.
One autumn, the old woman died. She was remembered fondly because she had always been a pleasant neighbor. The next spring, nobody was burying jewelry or roots or anything else in the old lot, but there were new small plants sprouting all around the lot. The sprouts were unremarkable and the neighbors didn't even notice them. And the next year, the sprouts got bigger, and each year they grew and grew. It took many, many, many years, but eventually there were small trees and grass and flowers, and the old abandoned lot made a very slow transformation.
70 or so years after that old woman had died, the old abandoned lot was a stunning park with beautiful, unusual trees, brightly colored flowers, and soft grass. Children loved to swing from the branches of the trees, listening to the sweet songs of countless birds who made their nests there. Families and friends had picnics on the grass, and it was just a really special oasis in the neighborhood.
One day, an old man was on his hands and knees in the park. A young couple watched as he took out a spoon, dug a hole in the soft soil, and put a shiny gold coin in the hole. The couple thought this was very strange, so they asked the man why he was disposing of his treasure this way. He smiled and he said, "Your grandchildren will love to climb this tree." And then he walked away. You see, the old man had been just a young boy when the quirky old woman planted her treasures in the soil here, and his grandchildren were making beautiful memories in this place, just like she had said they would.
It's a really fun story. And it's fun to think about, what are the things we do? What are the treasures we plant that we'll never see how they grow? What are they going to grow into? There are all kinds of ways that we get to create magic for the people of the future. I wonder if you can think of ways that you might plant treasure for someone you may never meet. We miss you and we love you. See you soon.
Bye.
It is now time for our morning offering. In addition to making sure that South Church remains functioning, secure, and thriving, the contribution of our treasures is also shared with various shared plate recipients throughout the year. For the month of March, we'll be sharing our Sunday offerings with Womenaid of Greater Portsmouth. A short video about the function of Womenaid in our community will follow, as will instructions on how you can make your donation. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your generosity.
Hi, I'm Patty Cohen, and I'm on the board of Womenaid of Greater Portsmouth. And I want to thank South Church, and we are so grateful that we have been chosen as a recipient for the shared plate for the month of March. We're just so grateful to everybody there. The mission of Womenaid is to provide short-term financial assistance to our neighbors in need when they have nowhere else to turn. And the way we do this is we work with the social services sector, the people working maybe at Crossroads House or Portsmouth Welfare or Families First or any of the Seacoast Mental Health, and they contact us on behalf of an individual that they're working with who is in need of some help financially. So a good example would be like a car repair, that somebody needs 4 new tires in order to pass inspection. And so the request is submitted to our organization from the person working at one of those agencies. And then our board, which is comprised of 8 volunteers, we have no staff, we have no office. And what we do is if we make a decision to fund a request up to $600, then we pay the vendor, we'll pay the car repair place and not the individual in need. So that's how we work. We've been around since 2005, and in 16 years, we've given away close to $1 million in these small increments of money. We've never had to turn down a request because we didn't have the funds available. And that is huge to us. What that says is that this is an amazing community that supports us so that we can support individuals when they literally have nowhere else to go. So thank you again, everybody at South Church. We are deeply grateful.
we give thanks, oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for this precious day. We're all gathered here, we're all gathered here, and those far away, and those far away. For this time we share, for this time we share, with love and care, with love and care. Oh, we give thanks, oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for this precious day.
Please join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer. Spirit of life and energy of love, as the days continue to lengthen and the hope of spring is around the corner, we take this moment to pause, to hold in our hearts the light and the heavy, the joyful and the sad, for ourselves, our families, our communities, our nation, and our world, for all that has been, for all that is around us today, for all that will be in the days to come. My blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak, her sap doth run in my veins, boundless my soul like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. We are grateful for those of the past, whose shoulders we stand on, whose efforts built beloved community in so many ways, both skillful and less skillful. May we have compassion and clear eyes on the past. My hand holds the weavings of time without end, my sight as deep as the sea. Beating my heart sounds the measures of old, that of love's eternity. That of love, that of love, that of love's eternity. We are grateful for those around us now, here present or showing up later, close by but unreachable, and those far away. Each of us show up as we can, giving of ourselves as we can. May we have compassion and clarity of heart in our decisions today. I feel the tides as they answer the moon, rushing on a far distant sand. Winging my song is the wind of my breast, and my love blows over the land. And my love, and my love, and my love blows over the land. We are grateful for those to come after us, the ones we will let our sweet work go to, as well as the unknown needs. We are their foundation of support. May we have compassion and wisdom as we prepare for the future. My foot carries days of the old into new. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous rising green to bring a new day. Amen and blessed be.
Good morning. I am Sue Warner Thoresen, and I first attended South Church in 1974. The following week, I sang in the choir. There were 13 people in the choir that day, including a paid soloist, and we sat up in the chancel. Reverend McPhee gave the sermon. What I most remember was that there were only 13 people in the congregation. I counted them. After singing for 4 years in choirs at Smith College, I thought that having a good music program was very important in attending a church. But now we had 2 small children, and Louise Richardson was teaching a children's program that I could believe. So I stayed. Then Bob came, and the church congregation began to grow with a series of younger ministers. Yet when I wrote the National Register nomination in 1978-9, some members of the small congregation wanted to sell the church. I have come to think that South Church would not have survived if it had not had an endowment. I also think that if the church had not touched its endowment, it would be in multiple millions today. If a church has a $2 million endowment and a spending distribution policy of 4%, it would receive $80,000 a year for operations. But South Church took a lot of money from the endowment and did not make an effort to rebuild it for posterity for many years. Money that should have gone into the endowment was spent on operating. South Church was built in 1824-26 in a Greek revival style with a 17-foot addition in the middle 1800s. From an endowment perspective, it is equally important that Oliver W. Penhallow and his daughter Harriet Louise Penhallow led and were the principal donors to create this early endowment. Think how incredible that was. An endowment is a donation of money or property to a nonprofit organization that uses the resulting investment income for a specific purpose. Multiple nonprofit organizations that we all know have no endowment, excuse me, including churches, and so have no basic safety net to support the organization and building. Other churches benefit from endowments in the millions. Endowments are built with gifts and bequests. The endowment used to be managed separately from the board of directors. I chaired the endowment trustees for 4 years. Jeff Leith, Lee Eshelman, Carol Cole, Jeanette Hopkins, Charlie DeGrandpré, and I worked to grow that endowment and preserve it. Jeanette Hopkins was the primary author of the South Church endowment history. During our time as endowment trustees, we started the Penhallow Society, named in honor of the early Penhallow contributors to recognize church members or friends of the church who gave or intended to give a planned gift to the church. We prepared a planned giving brochure. Examples of requests through your will or trust, naming South Church endowment as a beneficiary of your life insurance, annuity, or retirement account, or pledging X dollars for Y years. You don't have to be dead to give. Bob and I started a small South Church organ maintenance fund 20 years ago, which provides money just for that purpose. When I became a trustee of the endowment, it was less than $300,000. The endowment trustees at that time felt the endowment should be grown and not be distributed until it was closer to $1 million. To protect it, we established a distribution policy based on a 3-year moving average on a quarterly basis, similar to that used by the Charitable Foundation. Peter Okhuysen designed a church logo, and a Penhallow Society silver pin was developed. Then we reached out to church members to try and find out who had already planned a gift. Once a year, the trustees hosted a Penhallow Society dinner. We want to reinstate a Penhallow Society gathering again. Here is why I am passionate about planned giving. You are giving to keep the organization that shares your values and is so important to you healthy for future generations. You're making a difference for your children and grandchildren and community. No matter the dollar amount, that gift is important. If the church has lean years, you are rest assured that there will be a base income for operations. If you do not have a will, please get one right away. Otherwise, if you die without one intestate, the state will decide where your money goes and who will be the guardian of your children. I view estate planning as reverse megabucks. Where can you put your money where it will make a difference? I'm a worst case disaster planner. In that case, a lot of charities will benefit and I had fun selecting them. In a normal case, I can still make a difference in my planned giving, and so can you. Please consider including South Church Endowment in your planned giving. Thank you.
Good morning. I honestly don't remember when I made my first legacy contribution to the Penhallow Society. It was long enough ago that I remember thinking, it's going to be a while before South Church receives any benefit from this. You see, my legacy contribution is half my life insurance policy. Since that time, I have seen the endowment grow, and I have appreciated how it helps us in the present. Each year, we take a percentage of the growth of the endowment as a contribution to the annual budget campaign. In recent years, with good growth, that has been between $35,000 and $40,000 per year. This year, 2021, we have budgeted $35,916. Sometimes we use the endowment for extraordinary circumstances. You may remember that last year at the January 2020 annual meeting, I didn't, that we withdrew $40,000 for an extraordinary circumstance. The church faced an IRS penalty relating to our contributions to our retirement funds. To avoid the penalty, we withdrew the $40,000, fixed the contribution, and saved that money. In my mind, that's exactly why we create an endowment in the first place, to meet extraordinary circumstances, to do unusual things. So think of the endowment as a resource. It's a resource that helps us thrive financially. It's a resource that helps us do the things in the community that we wish to do, to maintain our physical facilities and our buildings, and to live out our values in the larger world. Now, when I made the commitment to the Penhallow Society those many years ago, South Church was not as central to my life as it is today. We were still a young family with heavy demands on our time and limited financial resources. But what I did see was that my sons were benefiting from the OWL program, that they were seeing adults who were taking stands on controversial issues, that they were learning about injustices in the world and how they might impact them. So at the same time, I was growing spiritually, sometimes slowly, sometimes grudgingly, but it was this community that was stretching my mind. So now here I am. I'll be 74 in a couple of months. And South Church is central to my life. It's important to me, the work we do on immigrant justice, that we tackle the issue of racial inequality, that we give pastoral care to one another in times of trouble, that we offer service opportunities to our youth and to our adults, and that we are a beacon of liberal religion on the seacoast. I want this community to be here for another 300 plus years. And I like to think that 150 years from now, when a new roof is needed, a little bit of my legacy money will be there to replace it. May it be so.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Skye Marr, and I'm here today representing my husband, John Marr, and myself as members of the Penhallow Society on this, our Endowment Sunday. I'm here to talk about why we are members of the Endowment of the Penhallow Society, and it is a very, very basic reason. When we joined this church many years ago, we joined because we were looking for a Unitarian Universalist community, and in Portsmouth, and this was it. It was a very small community. There were only 33 pledges to keep us alive, and the small number of people worked in every capacity. 33 pledges is not enough to keep our building heated, or the programs running, or pay for an RE director, any of that. But at that point, we were volunteering to do everything because we needed this community. We needed each other. We needed to see each other. We needed to have a minister talking about our values and our social justice issues and our community. And without the endowment committee and the endowment that we had left from prior parishioners, this community would not have existed for us in the 70s. It couldn't possibly stay alive with 33 small pledging units. So I am grateful that the endowment was there for us. It got us through some very difficult times, not only then, but once again, later, we had to use more endowment than we wanted. But it has kept us alive. And you know what we have now. And we have a very healthy church with lots of programs to keep us interested in being here, to keep our social justice issues in the forefront, to keep our spiritual connectedness going, to hire a new minister, to keep our religious education programs going. We are a large church with a lot of children, and that's an important part for all of us. So keeping our endowment healthy is critical to us, and the Penhallow Society has been able to maximize what we do and point out the values of making contributions through your will. And if you have any more interest, I'm sure that there are lots of people who would be I'd like to be able to talk to you about it. John and I have made our IRA be the donor source for our contribution. As you may know, you have to take a percentage of it, or designated a percentage of your IRA to be distributed, and South Church has a percentage of ours. So we now have a second generation here at South Church, my daughter, Mariah, and her husband, and their third generation, my granddaughter, Josie, and her sister, Ella, who is not here with us today. But now Mariah's turn.
Hi, hello, I'm Mariah Mar Roberts, and I am on the current endowment committee. I'm also a facilitator at the coming of age class here at South Church. And as you just heard, I was raised here in Portsmouth in this South Church community. And it was a wonderful place to grow up and be able to experience many, many different opportunities that I had throughout my life, and many friends that have become lifelong friends. And when I was actually asked to be a member of the endowment committee, it kind of took me back, because I really didn't think of myself as being able to help our community, our congregation in that way. I've always thought of myself helping in other ways. But then I started to think about my own history here at the church and what the actual facility and church and community meant to me. And I realized that that had a lot more to do with the endowment than I had thought before. And I started to think about what the church has been for our community, the actual physical building within the town of Portsmouth, and what it means for our entire community, not just the people in our South Church congregation, our entire community. And I started to think about that. I also started to think about, as a person that has been here in the church for many years, how we have been in transition many different times, going through our transitions within ministries. And I've started to think about how the endowment really is about the congregation keeping itself alive and keeping this building alive and keeping our community alive, and how we are really the source, that the congregation itself, the people within the congregation, are really the source of the heartbeat of this church. And it gave me a lot of inspiration to become a member of the endowment committee, to be honest. And especially when I think about the next generation and how I would like to leave the church and the town of Portsmouth to this next generation and have another generation of open-minded thinking people here in our community. Would you like to say anything about what you like about South Church?
I'm Josie, and I like the classes and the upstairs space where we sing and all that. I like the classes because I think they're just fun and we get to do art, and I also like the snacks at the snack table. So yeah.
Who doesn't like the snacks?
I love the snacks. Thank you.
Bye.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us until we are together again.
Our closing words are from Reverend Barbara Peskin. Because of those who came before, we are. In spite of their failings, we believe. Because of, and in spite of the horizons of their vision, we too dream. Let us go remembering to praise, to live in the moment, to love mightily, to bow to the mystery.